Hello, everyone who's just joined. We're just going to give a couple of minutes for folks to join. People are coming through. Nice to have you all. Great to see some names that we know as well. Hi, Dan. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Emma. Brilliant. And folks, feel free to ask questions as we go. We'll do our best to have a Q&A at the end as well. We've got James has joined. Hi, James. Hi, Naveen. Alex, Claire, David, Dimitri. Okay, folks, we're going to get going and start the webinar. So, thank you so much for coming today. We're joined by two fantastic people that we work with, Brian and Max from OneSource Virtual. And today, the topic of the webinar, we all know the two letters AI very well. Uh, Today's session is a little bit more about hearing from two people who have deployed it within their business, done so successfully, and I've thought about the human change and the rigor and the machine and the mechanics that need to go behind making AI actually work and deliver value in the business. In this case, it's in the world that Cluster does incredibly well, which is forecasting. So I'm going to be hearing directly from Brian and Max. Quick introductions. I'm Rory. I'm one of the co-founders here at Cluster. Started the business with our CEO, Dan. It's been a wonderful journey and great to have you all here today. And I'll pass for quick introductions. We'll go Brian first.
Hi, everyone. Rory, thanks for having us on. Brian Levey, I lead the sales organization here at OneSource Virtual.
Thank you for coming,
Thanks.
Brian. And Max.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for having us. I'm working in revenue operations. I manage our business systems and our data.
Awesome. Thank you for the quick intros, both. So look, let's take it back to before the world of let's go and think about deploying a solution. Let's go and think about what an AI solution or a platform could do for us. And Brian, this might be one for you to start off. What was the world of forecasting predating that like in the business? What was going on?
Yeah, not much. We were old school. We were producing spreadsheets by frontline leadership, pulling it right out of Salesforce. And that was a snapshot in time, is how we would run our forecast week after week. The AEs literally had a time period where they had to update their ops in Salesforce because that's when we'd rip it out and dump it all into Excel. And I remember we used to print them out too, and there'd be a stack of 50 of these adding up over the year of just spreadsheet after spreadsheet of how we would keep track of our forecasts. So
Physically print them out.
yes, on the legal size paper too. So it was not pretty. And that's when I think we recognized we needed to make some changes on that forefront.
Yeah. And process aside, if we look down on, okay, what was the net effect of that? The business was, you guys growing fast, you've
Yeah.
got people to answer to, you've got goals to hit, you've got visibility to deliver to the board, that's something on your plate. So how is that all going down?
Yeah, so that's pretty much which is what predicated our recognition that we needed to make a change is when I took over the leadership role for the sales team, it was about 3 years ago. Um, and I was being asked questions that I had a gut answer to, but no way to really prove it to them. We had no forward visibility even within the quarter that we were operating in, let alone future quarters, a quarter out, 2 quarters out, to give the board any kind of confidence
Yeah.
that we had a grasp of our business and we're in a position to keep hitting numbers that we've been doing.
Yeah. So it was, I'd imagine you, as a leader, you probably feel your gut is pretty good,
Pretty good. Pretty
but
good.
it's the evidence and the narrative with data that you were lacking at that time.
Yeah, yeah. We had no supporting cast in the story we were trying to tell regarding our forecast.
Okay. And presumably that puts you in a situation of, well, you then have to go and find evidence. There's an effort that then goes on after a board meeting. We've got to go
Uh-huh.
and deliver something.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And that's that Max was helping us with that to try and give us what we could. We had a tool that we leveraged called Funnelcast that
Yeah.
was analytically acceptable, I'd say.
Mm.
But the biggest component that we've realized using cluster is adoption. It's nothing if nobody uses it. And we failed to gain adoption at the field level, at the frontline leadership level with Funnelcast.
Mm.
And that led us to Rory talking to you.
Okay. And then if we think about the trigger, right? So something happened where you thought we need to move beyond into something smarter, something more live, something more visible, something where we have ground up adoption, building it,
Yeah,
living, breathing machine. What was it?
the board. Whenever I started getting exposure to the board, let alone the C-suite, but even above that, we had to have something that again gave them confidence that supported, almost you could say proved that, hey, Brian's telling us things are going well, things will be good this quarter. Here's evidence of something that they can trust that says, they literally go, what's cluster saying? When we start a quarter, what's cluster saying? That's the question I'm literally being asked right now. So the pressure came from where you would expect it to,
Yeah.
and they needed more. We needed more leverage to be able to present what we thought was going to happen in the quarter and then beyond, and that's what cluster gave us.
Yeah. I mean, you're asking for big decisions to be made based on your projections here. They're
Yeah,
saying, where's the
hiring.
evidence? Do we do it? Do we not? Like, are we at a stalemate? Or presumably then, Max, you enter the frame because something comes down to you to say, we need to go and back this up, like go and crunch some numbers.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the way we had is it was easy to look back, right? We know what we closed, we know what we have in our pipeline, but it was kind of only one part of the story and not strong enough evidence. Of course, yeah, Brian has all the context, but board needs a bit more, I guess, at this point. So especially because we're growing so fast, you need to be kind of confident in where we're heading.
Yeah, understood. So we then move to the stage, okay, we're going to do something about it. So there's an evaluation that happens, and Max, this is where I think you come into the picture. Talk me through kind of how you went around, running things side by side, making sure there was efficacy in the system, because this is a huge change. It's an operational change. It's a new way of life, actually, for many of your salespeople. So how did you kind of handle that evaluation with kid gloves, with sensibility?
Yeah, so we did have funnelcast implemented, which gave us forecasting numbers we were happy with, right? Analytical was fine, as Brian says, but no one went into the platform to use it. So that was a miss for us. So we wanted to swap and looked at cluster because we like the UI, we like the simplicity of it. Everything looks great, it's visible, but we had to trust the numbers, right? We're just gonna take your word for it, for being honest. So we did run our two platforms side by side for 2 quarters. So we gave all the info to cluster to the model it needed, and we let it run for 2 quarters to check forecast accuracy. And that's where we saw fairly quickly that, I mean, it was at least matching what we had in Funnelcast. So we were very confident to make a switch because all the other components just seemed better for what we needed. So we had it run. And during those 2 quarters, it obviously gave us the time to also set it up in the way we wanted it, have the proper dashboard ready, the proper widgets ready, have the right packs ready, right? So salespeople could work in cluster directly and it would then update Salesforce
Yeah.
for them, have all of that set up to make it way, way easier for them to, yeah, just switch platforms.
Brilliant. And there's a lesson here then, because dial back there, what essentially you're saying is, excuse me, I've got someone calling me here. Oh, sorry, team. There we are. Popular person. Uh, there was an overlap here. So rather than just going cold straight into, okay, let's go and do an evaluation. This looks fantastic. This looks like it fits our needs. Actually, you thought let's run them side by side. So what were some of the markers that you were looking for in there? Was it just the accuracy on the eye because you knew everything else was coming in, or were there, experiencing working with the business, the team, the expertise? Like what else were you kind of?
Yeah, I mean, accuracy was number one, if we're being honest, right? Because that's the really the thing we needed most. But we did have some sales leaders going into the platform early as well to kind of try and adopt it, see how they would, click around in it, see if it was to their liking, if it was easier to use than what we had. So we had that running and everything looked fine, right? So it's as simple as that. The numbers look good, so we could also just make the switch confidently. And the first quarter, we properly implemented cluster and said, okay, this is now our tool. We were already confident in the number because we had done all that pre-work.
Fantastic. And then Brian, I think we go to the first kind of big trigger moment, the big wow moment of platform in situ. There's I don't know, famous within the walls of OSV, your emails that come round that articulate where we are and what's going on. And now you've got this new data and evidence backing up your feeling and your judgment and what you're seeing on the ground. So how did that transform? And we're going to pop up some visuals now as well for the folks on the call.
Yeah, it was huge. It was huge from, of course, we keep saying the word credibility, but really what we're talking about is reliability. That what cluster's seeing is what Brian's seeing is what cluster's seeing. Essentially, it's taking the AI component, you could say, the AI component of cluster, measuring it against the gut check of the sales organization. And when those are in harmony, it's a really big deal for us at OneSource. It's a big deal for our executive team, our C-suite and board. When they look at that email and they see, here's what cluster's saying, here's the vibe of the quarter,
Yep.
things are looking good. What used to be a huge ordeal of explaining how the quarter's looking is now accomplished through an email. So it's allowed us to take what used to be, again, a huge effort for Max and his team and my storytelling and all this is now just a scalable week after week. Here's an update, and it's trustworthy is the biggest part.
That's a huge transition.
Huge,
And
huge help.
presumably, Brian, this is because you've now got form in delivering a bottoms-up forecast,
Yeah,
an AI forecast, which are coming together at a moment in time, and we've
exactly
seen
right.
that work in the past.
Exactly right. Yeah, we forecast pretty conservatively on the one source side. So having cluster being able to understand that, and it's fun.
Mm.
It learns the leadership level to know, hey, this RSD forecast like this, and it does its magic, so to speak. So it allows us to maintain the style of forecasting we want, but it evaluates it in the cluster way, which is perfect.
Yeah. And you talk about the vibe of the quarter. I mean, I look at this for you as a mock-up, everyone, of an
Yeah, our
environment.
numbers are way better than
Uh,
this, way more green than this.
Of course, of course.
Of course, sure.
But we've got pacing versus your typical curve. So this orange line is obviously the one source, if you like hockey stick. Brian, you're probably going to tell me you're just perfectly linear throughout the quarter and there's no drama at all. Um,
Never, never, especially at year end.
but it's interesting because, in this view, we are pacing slightly behind where we need to be to hit that quota of 4 million. But actually, the AI and the call from the team are coming out slightly higher. And
Mhm.
so, without that prior form of those two numbers aligning and delivering for the business, if you were pacing slightly behind, you probably had quite a hard job defending that forecast, and then you'd be into a world of pain of go and get some
Oh, you
numbers, go
nailed
and
it.
figure out what's going on.
Absolutely, yeah. We historically, our last month of the quarter, we do about 50% of our quarterly assignment, which Cluster has illuminated for us. And as you can see, runs with it and predicts it that way. We didn't really know that or be able to prove it before to the board or to the C-suite. Hey, you're behind, right? And you spend time having a conversation on something that has already happened and is already a reality versus spending time on forward-thinking stuff in those executive meetings. So it shifted the way we look at the business in its entirety on the sales side.
Changes the productivity of the board meeting entirely.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, you talk about worthwhile stuff versus, again, historical stuff. Max nailed it. We know what happened.
Yeah,
We know what happened. Let's talk about what can happen
yeah.
and where are the opportunities to blow this quarter out, stuff like that.
And Max, as an operational leader, how has this kind of changed your day to day? If we go from a world of let's try and support conversations in the board meeting as they were versus where they are today, kind of how's it lighten your load? How's it changed how you think about being a strategic advisor to the business versus just someone who crunches?
Yeah, I mean, fewer reports, that's for sure, right? That's good. I don't have to look back as much. That's there. And just having the confidence and the trust from the business, right? I don't know if you said it, but after 4 or 5 weeks into the quarter, we are pretty much 95% accurate
Yeah,
on where we're going to end. And I mean, that's super easy then for us to report
it's pretty
up.
crazy.
Because we are confident in that. And then we can track all the small changes. I don't have to look at all the deals and numbers and everything in details anymore. I can kind of look at trends and variations and get more context around it. And that's obviously where Brian helps that, some deals might be slower than others. And yeah, Cluster picks it up in the model, but having Brian then tell the board why this is happening, just, yeah, makes it simpler.
Fantastic. And this 95%, it's a fantastic achievement to be quarter in, quarter out, given the scale of your business. And it's not all solution, it's not all technology. There's two things that have to be working here, and I want to come on to that in a second. And it comes back to this story of how do we create a scenario when we're bringing in technologies and AI into our business that we actually think about how we are going to have a responsibility in making that working and not just expecting some sort of magic wand over the top. So I want to come on to that second. So we'll head to the forecast. And Max, this is into your world of the world of adoption, right? So this is a fairly similar forecasting environment to what you guys have at OneSource Virtual.
Mhm.
And just talk me through, Max, a little bit around the journey to getting everyone in your business. What have you got, like 40, 50 people in the org building forecasts up to Brian? What was that like? Any road bumps? How do you think about making it easy for them? And how quickly did you see adoption? Because I know you're at 100% now, which is epic, but how fast did you get there?
Pretty much as soon as we roll it out, right? Mostly because it was mandated by Brian that we're using this now, so people are going to do it. That's what happened. But we had it ready for them, right? We had it set up in a way, well, like you see there, right? It's very easy to understand. You can drag your deals left and right. It just updates Salesforce. That was very important to have it update our CRM, right? Because otherwise people have to do the work twice, and that's just not good for salespeople or for anyone, to be honest.
Yeah.
We did make some adjustment when you click into deals. There are certain fields that pop up and we can update those again directly in clusters. For example, opportunity notes or sentiment and all that kind of stuff is updated directly in cluster and writes back into Salesforce. Again, that was an ask from the salespeople to just make it simpler and it just show that, okay, they want to work in cluster when they're doing their forecast. They don't want to flip back and forth all the time. But that's what we made possible for them.
Okay, so this is important point. It's workflow and it's an ease of workflow, usability, and some value add to making a task which they never used to enjoy. I'm guessing, Brian, the spreadsheet world, forecasting wasn't the most popular thing reps were doing at the time.
It was a disaster. Yeah. Like if you missed a deadline, you're going to get called out on the forecast call because again, it's snapshotted.
Yeah,
Cluster, you have a call right before the forecast. You update it, Cluster is going to pull it in, and
yeah,
Cluster will show real time what's happening in the opportunities.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then Max, back to your point, if we think about workflow, what sort of feedback did you get from the reps around old world versus new world? And just that, again, back to that, how do we make a process which no one used to really enjoy, easy to do, quick, fast, intuitive, build scenarios?
Yeah, I mean, just use the platform as is, right? There wasn't that much to do, right? Because it's already set up in a way that worked for our business as well, at least. Yeah, we did
Yeah,
have to set up our stages and map it correctly, I'd say, but that's all pre-work. Once it's in the salespeople's hands, it's ready for them to use. And as you said, that simple usability piece, just flipping things left and right, and they quickly adopted it and saw, okay, that's way easier to do than what I'm supposed to do on spreadsheets, right? So it just seemed natural, I think, for them.
fantastic. And that nice example in this environment actually of the triangulation. We've got 4.3 coming from the AI, the forecast over here, which is built by the reps moving deals and then
Mhm.
assigning the probabilities of those deals to close between this time and end of the quarter is coming out 4.2. So we've already got that nice example here of that bottoms up and then the AI forecast modeling built by the experts at Cluster coming
Yeah.
together. So this is your place of confidence. And then Brian, back to your point, you entered this new world, you logged in for the first few times. How quickly was it that you were starting to give commentary to the business that you hadn't before?
Same week. Literally, yeah, same week. One, it presents itself for you, so you don't have to go digging for it in cluster. What I needed was right there, and then Max, it's probably a credit to you and how you roll this out on the dashboard fields. But yeah, our home page has total pipeline, weighted pipeline, trajectories, all that stuff, and that's the money maker, the screenshot to the board and everything like that that we look at. It does two things for us. One, two ways. This is a perfect example. So when we're looking at either a rep or a leader in their forecast, which is what this is all about, right? Forecast accuracy and confidence. If AI is saying a higher number and the leader is saying a lower number, the question is why?
Mm,
If it's vice versa, if the leader's calling a high number and cluster's showing lower, again, the question is why? And it forces the conversation of the leader overseeing that line of business to defend his forecast position because you've got both here, which is awesome. You've got the AI, and then you've got, hey, leader, this is how you've designed your forecast.
yeah,
Why is it so disparate from cluster?
yeah.
Cluster allows us to apply that pressure.
And that's when the manager then has to deliver their
That's right.
bank of evidence.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Okay. And how did you find if you think about your first line leadership, Brian, moving to this world and this world of empirical evidence behind a forecast and numbers that make sense and everything quantified, was that a quick journey? Was it immediately, this is fantastic? Were there some people that were a little bit like against it because they can't necessarily build a narrative in their head that they want, which might be
Yeah.
unrealistic and that's uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. A little bit of both. It took for them to use it was immediate and not just because it was mandated. I mean, it was such an upgrade of what we were doing before. To Max's point, it's super easy for them to use and adopt. That was that was immediate. What took a while, which is a great thing, is it elevated the pedigree of our sales leadership team on how
Mm,
they looked at their business, at what they looked at in their business for that very reason, Rory, that we have all these metrics now at our fingertips that tell us one thing, but you're saying something different. So it elevated them as business people, and I think at how they looked at their business. You're not going to solve that with anybody overnight. That takes time, but it's a good thing.
yeah. And to pick a nice example here, if you've got someone who's building the scenario for you, Brian, and is saying, "Hey, I think the majority. I've been through my best case deals with a fine tooth comb. I think the majority are coming in, but historically, from this day, only 49% do, and actually it declines as the quarter goes on. They've got some serious stuff. You're going to go through those three deals that probably don't come in with a fine tooth comb, right?
That's right. That's right. And then I look at this and I'm adjusting that on my for it. Those adjustments don't get to the board, which again keeps us in line. We do what we say we're going to do, which is our responsibility.
Yeah. And then Max, to you, just a little bit around. So we bring a new system in, we deploy, it's fast, it's intuitive, we're delivering evidence and confidence to the board. Obviously, that needs to play out over a number of quarters for Brian to be in his situation today where when the numbers align, that's it, we're off, we're decision making, we're thinking about the future of the company. But how have you been thinking about Max, but also been working with the team on the continuous innovation side? How do we make this more OSV? How do we make this work better for us? What's that been like?
Yeah. So yeah, first up, confidence in number. Okay, that's done now. So what's the next part with it? So we tried to move into more pipeline intelligence state, I would say. I don't know if that's a word, but just looking at, okay, what's our current open pipeline? And for each rep to see and sales leaders to see, okay, which deals are lagging, which deals have been pushed out more than usual, which close dates look a bit wonky, which, important large deals are at risk or not at risk, but are like key deals to keep track of. So all of that, we built new custom dashboards with that with the help of Freya CSM, who's been massively helpful here. So shout out to her. And we just, yeah, customize it. And I think you have it here with a weighted pipeline. Yeah, this looks really much like ours. Open, cap to target, coverage, weighted. And we can now, obviously, because we have it right here, we could put more emphasis on it and tell our people, okay, you need to keep your
Yep.
coverage this X and our weighted pipeline always has to be over the target. We can
Yep.
keep those messages going and show them if it's not the case.
So you're moving on to the world of, we coined this a little while ago. You might want to call it the forecasting. Before we start forecasting, what are the metrics that we need to understand and nurture and control? And we're into pipeline, we're into pushing, we're into control, are we generating enough of the right type of pipeline? Are we building pipeline? Are we moving pipeline? Are we pushing pipeline? So we're now into this new world. And if we again rewind back to the world where it was a spreadsheet only, was this then enabling you to take on like a new area of discipline for a rep, almost that strategic hat for a rep for the first time, taking them out of the day-to-day deal, deal, deal.
Yeah.
It's the first time they've ever been introduced to it. Certainly for the frontline leadership, in terms of how strategic they look at their forecast and what they're looking for at their forecast versus, hey, my call adds up to this and my quote is this on an X%. That was literally what we were getting out of the forecast before. But now we're evaluating all these other levels, deal flow, when the deals close, weighted pipeline, total pipeline, pipeline coming in, pipeline going out, time to close, all this stuff that was never a consideration, which again elevates them as business people. But the more the salespeople hear from it from their leadership, they'll pick that up too, because they'll understand what the leader's looking for, and that'll adjust their own forecast. Because you have to forecast for your leader. That's the AE's responsibility, and the frontline leaders for the second line. So yeah, it's been tremendously helpful, not only from the accuracy, but from the development of our team over here and how we look at our business.
Brilliant. So the intelligence from your part on the rollout and the design was the quickest win started first, and then we're actually able to start taking our people on a journey of
Totally,
new areas of value and ways of thinking about
totally.
the business.
Yeah, totally. 100%. Get the adoption, get it working. That was quick. And now we're, the what else, which is exactly what you want to ask out of a platform.
Fantastic, both. We're actually, I mean, we're coming up to time. That was a very quick 30 minutes. I guess I'll finish by maybe one or two tips each for anyone on this call who's thinking about improving forecasting, deploying AI within the world of sales and revenue in their business. Like, what are some of the key learnings you've taken from this project as some takeaways for the folks on the call?
I'll go first, Max. I mean, this is new application 101. Make sure the team that you're rolling it out to understands why. Right? It's either going to make their lives easier, make them better at their job, or give them a greater chance of success. In a perfect world like this, you can message all three of those, which is true. Right? There's the story that you tell them, and then whether it's true or not. When we rolled out Cluster, it was big because it was a huge improvement for them, made them better, and now they've got a better chance of hitting their number, which is all they really care about.
That's hard, right? Because the rhetoric around forecasting typically for reps is it's a
Painful.
management tool to look at
It's
it.
painful. Yeah, that's what it is. Um, the ease of use with Cluster, plus just the UI itself, I'd say is huge, Max. Just
Yeah,
the just the way it operates was huge for us. I mean, again, if you knew what we were doing before, Rory, we would have no problem convincing our reps that this is going to be a better way of life for them because
Yeah,
it is.
awesome. And Max, takeaways for the operational folks on
yeah,
the call.
Tim, just use the time to prepare ahead, right? I think it wasn't that complicated, but if you get an extra quarter or 2 quarters in beforehand, once you roll it out, it's already pretty much perfect. And that's, I think, what helped the adoption a lot. We could just roll it out and be like, okay, this is going to work for you guys.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've just noticed we've had a question coming from Emma. It's interesting. So does Cluster then replace the CRM as single source of truth for sales? How would you answer that question? 'Cause I know you guys have got Cluster built into your Salesforce for your reps, haven't you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd say it's a single source of truth for forecasting, not
Hmm.
for our CRM, but it's our single source of truth for forecasting. Our board, me, I don't want to see the Salesforce forecasts. Salesforce account management, all that stuff, transferring MQLs, the SQLs, and all that stuff, that's in Salesforce. Cluster is our forecasting source of truth.
Yeah, it's the vessel for visibility for the business coming through
Yeah,
the system, but it's living in Salesforce for your salespeople.
it is. Yep.
Yeah, awesome. Great, guys. Thank you so much, everyone on the call. Thank you for coming. There'll be a recording available of this. Thank you, David. Exceptional, Brian and Max, coming through
Yeah.
from David. So
This is
really
all
appreciate it.
Max. Max should get his flowers. Max rolled this out, built this out, got it all right for us. We just use it, but Max hooked us up. So great
Yeah.
job, Max.
To those of you on the call, thanks for joining. I hope you have a great rest of your afternoon or morning, depending on where you're situated. Max and Brian, pleasure to see you as always, and good luck for the rest of your quarter.
Thank you.
I'll be
I appreciate
watching.
it. I know you will.
Cheers.
Cheers.
All
Thank you.
right. Thanks, Rory.
Thank you,
Thanks,
everyone.
Max. Thanks, everyone. Bye.